Welcome, science friends, to artificial selection. Now, before we start talking about natural selection, I want to quickly touch on this short little subject of artificial selection so we can learn the difference between the two. Artificial selection is a really good way for us to see how choosing for certain traits can influence a population in some sort of controlled setting. Great examples that we know and love are things like dogs, which were selectively bred from wolves, house cats, which again were selectively bred from wildcats, and many of our food like wheat and corn, so plants that we like to eat, and livestock, chickens, pork, beef, all of those, humans have chosen specific qualities that we want to see in these organisms, whether they're plants or animals. A great example are chickens. So as we can see here, we see over several decades, all the way back to 1957, we saw this ginormous change in how we were selecting for the juiciest and meatiest chickens for our poultry industry. So back in 1957, we see this one chicken. It seems pretty scraggly compared to how we view chickens today. It was about a kilogram, so 905 grams. Well, 20 years later in 1978, we checked again, and now chickens are twice as big. They're almost 2 kilograms. They're 1,800 grams, so they doubled in size. And in 2005, which I know feels like a really long time ago from today, as we can see with the 2005 chicken, it is even bigger than the 1978 chicken. It is twice as big as the 1978 chicken. So across this almost 50-year span, we made chickens 4 times bigger than they were just by artificially selecting for the biggest and juiciest and meatiest chickens. So humans can have a pretty dramatic effect on organisms by this process of artificial selection. We also see this in our most beloved companions, dogs. When humans have a trait that they want in some sort of animal, in this case dogs, they breed them together. So we started out with wolves, and we started breeding together the wolves that were more friendly and nicer and had a much more calm demeanor. So somehow we went from this very fierce timber wolf to a pretty derpy looking pug. I highly recommend the video that's linked on this slide if you're interested in the domestication of wild animals. There's currently a study that's been going on for decades and decades and decades where these two scientists are trying to domesticate foxes. And we can kind of see the purpose of this real life documented case of artificial selection and how there are certain traits that may be linked when we select for certain characteristics in domesticated foxes. So when humans select or choose which offspring that mate, we usually select, which traits that we want. If it's for eating, we want things that are big and healthy. If it's for a companion like a cat or a dog, we choose those traits that are more desirable to us, being friendly, being loving, being able to follow commands, and things like that. We don't let those organisms choose on their own. We don't say, hey, just go make babies with whatever you want. No. We don't leave it up to chance. We as humans like to control which things breed with which things, which individuals are creating new offspring. And that process of humans being in charge and picking out those specific traits and mates, that is artificial selection. So instead of letting nature run its course, humans take control. Another great example for plants is a lot of the vegetables we know and love today. All 6 of these pretty common vegetables, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, kohlrabi, and Brussels sprouts, all came from one plant, the mustard plant. By breeding certain plants with the traits that we wanted the most, we were able to make new vegetables, essentially. So to get cauliflower and broccoli, those are both flowers. So over many generations of mustard plant, humans chose the mustard plants that had the biggest and tastiest flowers and kept breeding together those bigger and bigger flowered plants until eventually we got new species like cauliflower and broccoli. For those plants where we like to eat the leaves, like cabbage and kale, we selected for the plants that had the biggest, tastiest leaves and kept breeding them together over and over again until we got these new species. And Brussels sprouts as well is also pretty leafy. And then kohlrabi is a root. So again, we chose those mustard plants that had the largest, tastiest roots and bred them together until we got a new species. So humans have a lot of control when it comes to artificial selection. that was artificial selection. I hope it helped.